Chapter 4895 Go Weiba was still useful. Muzian steadied her mind and returned to her usual gentle appearance. She smiled faintly and said, "I'm sorry. I didn't arrange things properly today and let everyone down." Lan Luoyan immediately said angrily, "Sister Xian, what does this have to do with you?" It was clearly caused by that Yun Chujiu. Ever since that bitch arrived at the Lan family, she hasn't stopped. How detestable. Lan Luomei and the rest also chimed in. They were simply pushing the blame onto Yun Chujiu. Lan Luocheng, Lan Luamu, and the rest, however, had a wishful plan in their hearts. Lan Luochen, that idiot, actually abandoned Muzian and chose that Yun Chujiu. He was simply stupid. However, this was also good. They had a chance. If they could marry Muzian, they would have enough strength to kill that Lan Luochen. Hence, they all started to show their hospitality. Although Muzian did not like them, she still braced herself to deal with them. If these idiots were used properly, she would not need to personally kill that bitch. After Muzian sent everyone away, she quickly sent people to investigate the incident last night. An hour later, a guard reported with a troubled expression, "Miss, there is a corpse hanging on the city wall. It is said that it was the arsonist from last night. Although the person was badly mutilated, judging from his figure and clothes, it should be Elder Ju." Muzian immediately fell down on the chair. How was this possible? Putting aside the fact that Elder Ju was not an arsonist, even if there was a misunderstanding, with Elder Ju's cultivation level, how could he be killed so easily? She recalled what Yun Chujiu said earlier. Could it be that bitch's doing? She shook her head again. That bitch did not have such strength. It was probably just a coincidence. "Miss, should we retrieve Elder Ju's body and seek an explanation from the Lan family?" the guard asked. Muzian shook her head. "Since we have already been identified as the arsonist, not only can we not seek an explanation from the Lan family, we can also not admit that Elder Ju is one of us. Miss, are we just going to let this matter go? The Lan family has gone too far. This time, it was the old mistress of the Lan family who personally invited you over as a guest. Now, not only is there no news of the marriage, but she has also killed Elder Ju. She has completely disregarded the Mu family," the maid Xiao Yu said indignantly. "If he refuses to change his mind, we'll have to do it the hard way. I'll let him kill that bitch with his own hands." On the other side, He Xinjiu pulled Lan Luofang out of the Lan family's main house and went back to the third house. TSK, that Muzian still wanted to poison her. With Go Weiba, there was no poison in this world that she was afraid of. Thinking of this, He Xinjiu felt that Go Weiba was still useful, but this could not cover up the fact that it prevented her from having sex with the gigolo. After Go Weiba sensed He Xinjiu's thoughts, it cursed in its heart, "This woman, pervert, wolf." All day long, it was thinking about that trivial matter. Couldn't it not have sex? Just like Go Weiba, even if it did not have sex, it was still alive and well. If He Xinjiu knew this fellow's thoughts, she would definitely turn it into a specimen. After He Xinjiu returned to her room, she washed up briefly, took out Di Baiming's voice transmission talisman and sighed. "Gigolo, where are you?" Chapter 4896 was heartbroken. Although the people of the Chongshao continent used voice transmission talismans, Yun Chujiu's voice transmission talismans could also be used, but the effect was not as good as the voice transmission talismans. Just as Yun Chujiu was sighing, the voice transmission talisman in her hand began to tremble. Yun Chujiu could not believe her eyes. Could she be hallucinating? How could it be so coincidental? The gigolo had sent a letter at this time. Her little heart pounded violently and she sent her divine sense in with a slight tremble. When she heard the familiar voice, she could not help but feel a lump in her throat. She did not even hear what Di Baiming had said, so she could only listen again. "Little Jiu, stay at the Lan family. Don't leave. Remember." Yun Chujiu felt that there might be something wrong with her ears. The gigolo was so jealous that he actually told her to stay at the Lan family. Was he sick? She listened to it again and her expression instantly changed. Although Di Biming seemed to be trying his best to calmly recount these words, she could feel that he was trying his best to suppress some pain. Could it be that something had happened? She calmed herself down and replied, I know. Where are you? What happened? However, this time, the voice transmission talisman did not succeed. Yun Chujia's hands could not help but tremble. She tried again and again but failed. She took out Shui Wuji's voice transmission talisman and asked, Brother Wuji, are you with the gigolo? What happened? She didn't expect that the transmission would be successful this time. On a wasteland in the Chongshao continent, there was a river of blood and corpses everywhere. The heavy smell of blood filled the air. Shui Wuji wiped the blood from his mouth and held a voice transmission talisman in his hand. He looked at Di Biming, who was almost frozen into an ice sculpture. Little sister Jiu sent it. What should I say? You too. Why did you block the voice transmission talisman? It's not like you don't know little sister Jiu's personality. If she doesn't ask the truth, will she let it go? Di Biming said with difficulty, little sister Jiu is very smart. If I continue, she will notice that something is wrong. She will definitely run over regardless. You tell her that I have an urgent matter. I went to another continent. Everything is fine. Let her wait for me in peace at the Lan family. Shui Wuji curled his lips. Wait for you at ease. Aren't you afraid that that bastard Lan Luochen will take advantage of little ninth sister? That bastard has always been eyeing little ninth sister covetously. Moreover, right now, she is in the Lan family. She is the safest. I believe in her. Di Biming had not finished his words when he had already fainted. Shui Wuji took the heavenly ruler that he had obtained from the ancient sword tomb and knocked on the hard ice on Di Biming's body as he spoke to Enfeng, TSK, I didn't expect this expressionless man to be so affectionate. When he said those words just now, how sour was his heart. Enfeng was speechless. His Majesty was already in such a state, yet this young master of Wuji still did not forget to ridicule him. However, when he thought of Jin Ji, whom he had not seen for several years, he felt very uncomfortable. He wondered if Jin Ji was waiting for him. Could she have already become someone else's wife? Just thinking about it made his heart ache. When would these days end? Shui Wuji looked at Enfeng's resentful look and sighed. Sigh, it had been a long time since he had seen that unfaithful woman, pervert, and wolf. And Rui Er wouldn't have forgotten about his father, right? Chapter 4897, The Three Most Miserable Men. Shui Wuji felt that the three of them were most likely the most miserable men in the world. This was all because of that fucking owner of the god and devil temple. He did not know what kind of deep hatred he had with this facial paralysis. He actually chased after him from one continent to another. If this facial paralysis was not a pervert, he would have died a long time ago. As for him, the reason why he had been accompanying Di Biming was naturally because he was a hero who was loyal to the heavens. He could not just watch as the facial paralysis was killed. Cough, cough. He would never admit that he was trying his best to become stronger so that he could see that woman, pervert, and wolf again. Also, his seal should have something to do with the demon race. If he did not follow this facial paralysis to the peak of this world, he would not even have a place to stand on the 3,000 continents, not to mention living a shameless life with women, perverts, and wolves. When Shui Wuji thought of that woman, pervert, and wolf, his face couldn't help but heat up. It wasn't until the voice transmission talisman in his hand trembled again that he remembered that he still hadn't replied to Yun Chujio. He picked up the voice transmission talisman and pretended to be relaxed. Little sister Jiu, that expressionless man has something urgent to do and has gone to another continent. Don't worry, everything is fine. A moment later, Yun Chujio sent him another voice transmission talisman. Shui Wuji sent his divine sense in, and Yun Chujio's cold laughter came from inside. Brother Wuji, do you think I'm stupid? Tell me, what's going on? Shui Wuji immediately grinned. He finally understood why Di Biming wanted to block the voice transmission talisman. Little sister Jiu was a shrewd person. This lie could not fool her at all. He thought for a moment and then said, "It's not a big deal. It's just that the cold-faced poison offender did not want you to worry. You also know that the Divine Devil Hall wants to capture you and threaten him. You staying in the Lan family peacefully is the best choice." After a long while, Yun Chujia's voice came from the voice transmission talisman again. "Okay, I got it. You guys have to be careful." Shui Wuji was stunned. Little sister Jiu was actually so easy to talk to. Was it over just like that? He was about to complain to Enfeng when his expression changed. He and Enfeng immediately carried Di Biming and ran into the distance. Shui Wuji smiled bitterly in his heart. It would have been fine if this facial paralysis did not get sick, but this illness of his was going to kill him. He was afraid that he would have to run for his life these days. Almost as soon as the three of them disappeared, hundreds of people rushed to the place where they had stopped and chased after them. On the other side, Yun Chujio looked at the voice transmission talisman in her hand and did not move for a long time. She was not a 3-year-old child. Although Shui Wuji said it lightly, she knew that if the situation was not critical, the gigolo would not hide it from her and deliberately ignore her voice transmission talisman. Not only could she not help at all, but she also wanted the gigolo to be distracted by her. However, if there was no lightning strike, she would not be able to quickly increase her spiritual power no matter how anxious she was. This was the two sides of the coin. Although the Heavenly Thunder Spirit route brought her a lot of convenience, it also had many restrictions. The most fatal point was that it caused a thunderstorm. For a moment, Yun Chujia's heart was in a mess. Even though she was happy and optimistic, the current situation was bleak. The pretty boy was in a critical situation. Her parents were trapped in the Zen sect. There was even someone behind the Zen sect. Although she could be alive and kicking in the Lan family for the time being, this was because the old fox of the Lan family had other plans for her. Once she was no longer useful, he would probably hand her over to the Divine Devil Hall in exchange for benefits. Chapter 4898 This female devil really knew how to play. Although she was a ghost ancestor and a demon ancestor, those were all matters of her previous life. She was now a trash. Her current spiritual power was only at the 9th layer of the quietness of the soul. She was simply a weakling. The talismans and pills in her hands could only be considered low-grade. Those silly cuties were all very well known, but they were a bunch of good-looking but useless trash. The only decent De Hua was missing, and the newly transformed Goei Butsao made her even more depressed. Hei Xinjiu hugged her knees, thinking about these things in a daze. She felt unprecedentedly lost. How could she break through this layer of darkness? The stupid cuties were connected with Yun Chujia's spiritual sense. They could feel her low mood, and they all became depressed. Of course, Buddha's candle was the only exception. This fellow had signed a contract with Yun Chujio because of the situation. Seeing her low spirits, he was gloating over her misfortune. Damn it! I told you to be so arrogant and shameless in your past life. You finally got your comeuppance, didn't you? Ha ha ha. It was so satisfying. It pretended to comfort her, don't be too discouraged. Who knows when you'll regain the strength of your previous life. After all, you were so awesome in your previous life. The reason it said that was to rub salt on Yun Chujia's wound. However, it made Yun Chujia's eyes light up. Xiao Chouzhu was right. As long as she could find a way to break the seal in her body, she would be able to solve the big problem. Even if she could not find a way to break the seal, it would be fine if she could recover the memories of her previous life. Perhaps she had hidden some treasures or knew some heaven-defying cultivation method in her previous life. That way, she would be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort. Then, the question came. How could she break the seal in her body or recover her memories? Clown Candle, tell me about my past life. Yun Chujio felt that listening more might be helpful in recovering her memories. Buddha's candle did not expect that she would actually lift a stone and hit her own foot. She did not want to say anything, but she was afraid that she would be punished, so she could only say dryly, "I've slept for too long, so there's a limit to what I can remember. All I remember is that you came out of nowhere. Once you arrived at the bitter Zen sect, you disliked the name of the bitter Zen sect, so you forcefully erased the word bitter. Those monks tried to reason with you, but you beat them up, and even made them wear women's clothes and sing for you. In the end, you said that their singing wasn't good, so you snatched the dawn bell and the sunset wooden fish. What happened after that?" Yun Chujo touched her nose guiltily. Her previous life was really awesome. After that? How would I know what happened after that? You plucked out my candle wick, and I went into hibernation at that time, Buddha's candle said snappily. Hei Shinjo coughed dryly and did not continue to ask Buddha's candle. Instead, she opened the isolation array and released Qi-Ying. Qi-Ying had not been released for a long time. He was on the verge of crying. He saw Buddha's candle floating not far away from him and was dumbfounded. You snatched the Buddha's candle from the Zen sect? Yun Chujo curled her lips. It was it who wanted to follow me. Qi-Ying pursed his lips. He did not believe it. Yun Chujo, when are you going to find me a human body? If you continue to brush me off, I will fight you to the death. Qi-Ying had enough of those stupid and cute bullies. It was worse than death. The wick of the Buddha's candle flickered. Oh my, this rabbit was actually possessed by someone? TSK, this female devil really knew how to play. Chapter 4899 was also initiated by her in her previous life. Yun Chujo did not answer Qi-Ying's question. Instead, she said, "Tell me about the ghost ancestor." Qi-Ying snapped, "How would I know? I'm not someone from 10,000 years ago." Yun Chujo narrowed her eyes. You told me last time that the gigolo and I had feelings for each other in the Chongshao continent. Could it be that you lied to me before? Qi-Ying choked. I heard about these things from others. It was said that you appeared out of nowhere and acted wantonly in the Chongshao continent. It was simply glorious. Later on, for some unknown reason, your spiritual power was damaged. The forces that you offended all wanted to kill you, but you clung on to the Lord's thigh. Those forces had no choice but to give up. I only know so much. You can believe it or not. Yun Chujo was speechless when she heard that. So in her previous life, she had also taken the initiative to latch onto the leg of a gigolo? Of course, Yun Chujo did not believe that Qi-Ying only knew so much. However, she also knew that if she pushed him too hard, this fellow might have a life-and-death struggle, so she did not continue to ask. However, she did not expect Qi-Ying to take the initiative to say, I heard that you guys almost traveled through the entire Chongshao continent back then. If you go out for a walk, you might be able to recover your memories. Yun Chujia's lips curled into a cold smile. Qi-Ying had already instigated her to leave the Lan family for the second time. Don't think that she did not know what he was planning. He just wanted her to escape from the Lan family's protection so that she could be captured by the Divine Devil Hall. Thinking of this, Yun Chujo remembered a question that she had overlooked. She suddenly asked, Qi-Ying, your Divine Devil Hall's lair is not in the Chongshao continent, right? Or do you mean that you've never been to the so-called lair? I don't understand what you are talking about, Qi-Ying said with a twinkle in his eyes. Yun Chujo sneered. She had neglected this problem before. Now that she thought about it, if the Divine Devil Hall's lair was in the Chongshao continent, why would they be afraid of the Zen sect and the Lan family? They would have taken her away long ago. Moreover, it seemed that Qi-Ying's status in the Divine Devil Hall was not that great. Although he was a purple-masked man, he was probably one of those who had been ostracized. Otherwise, he would not have been tricked into staying in the 10,000 Ghost Cave for more than 10 years. Yun Chujo blinked her eyes and said with a sneer, Brother Qi-Ying, I actually quite sympathize with you. When Qi-Ying heard the words, Brother Qi-Ying, he could not help but shudder. This darn girl must be up to something again. What do you sympathize with me for? Don't look at me now that I've fallen into your hands. HMPH, it's not certain who will be the victor in the future. Qi Ying said with a stern expression, nonsense, nonsense. I'm a dignified purple-masked man, who dares to ostracize me? If you weren't ostracized, why would it be your turn to go to the ghost region for such a difficult task? Don't you know what kind of days you're living in the myriad ghosts' cave? Perhaps your body has already been destroyed by someone. They have no intention of letting you come back at all. Yun Chuzhou gloated. Qi Ying's pair of rabbit eyes became even redder. Impossible. We are all working for the master. Even if there are some disagreements, they wouldn't do this. Alright, since you are lying to yourself, then just pretend that I didn't say anything. Don't worry, I always keep my word. When the time is right, I will naturally help you find a human body and set you free, Yun Chuzhou said with a smile. Buddha's candle, who was at the side, cursed in his heart. You keep your word. Liar. Chapter 4900, Rising anger. Qi Ying was distracted by Yun Chuzhou's words, so he ignored Yun Chuzhou's words. Yun Chuzhou pursed her lips. It seemed like she was right. Qi Ying must have been ostracized in the Divine Devil Hall. As long as she simmered him down, she would bring him over sooner or later. Yun Chuzhou put Qi Ying back into her spirit beast pouch and sighed. It seemed like there was no quick fix. Fortunately, Mount Meru would be struck by lightning again in half a month. She would think of a way to absorb more lightning then. That night, He Xinjiu tossed and turned. She only fell asleep in a daze when it was almost dawn. Hong Ling saw that she would be late for class if she didn't wake He Xinjiu up, so she summoned her courage to wake Yun Chuzhou up. He Xinjiu's face was so gloomy that it was frightening. Hong Ling didn't even dare to breathe. She had seen people who were angry when they woke up, but her miss was getting more and more angry when she woke up. When Lan Luofang came over and saw He Xinjiu like this, she shrank her neck and did not dare to say anything. The two of them went to the training hall of the ancestral residence in silence. Yun Chuzhou was sleeping soundly on the table. Guest Elder Shi coughed a few times, but He Xinjiu did not respond. Guest Elder Shi said angrily, Yun Chuzhou, come to the front. Lan Luofang quickly and carefully woke He Xinjiu up. Little Zhou, Mr. Shi wants you to come to the front. He Xinjiu walked to the front with a gloomy face. When Kusur Shi saw her gloomy face, he could not help but get even angrier. Well, he actually blamed him for delaying her sleep. This was too outrageous. Yun Chuzhou, more than a month has passed in the blink of an eye. How's the transformation of your auxiliary spiritual beast? Show it to me. Kusur Shi said with a gloomy face. Although Yun Chuzhou was in a bad mood, she would not vent her anger on Mr. Shi. To be honest, Mr. Shi was not bad, but he was a little rigid. She agreed and began to gesture. She could gesture for a long time, but nothing came out. Mr. Shi became even angrier when he saw this. Yun Chuzhou, have you been slacking off? Otherwise, even if you can't successfully transform, you should at least improve. I'll give you another chance. If you still can't transform into a supplementary spirit beast half a month later, I can only report it to the old ancestor truthfully. Yun Chuzhou's little heart even fluttered a little when she heard the first part of the sentence, but when she heard the last part, she immediately put her heart back into her stomach. If you're willing to tell me, then so be it. It's not like that old fox doesn't know about her. Seeing that Yun Chuzhou did not seem to care, Guest Elder Shi added, after class, go and cut down an immortal tree. Guest Elder Shi waved his hand and chased this fellow back to his seat. He felt that if he continued talking, he would die of anger. After class, He Xinjiu did not go and cut down the immortal tree. Instead, she continued to lie on the table and sleep soundly. Lan Luofang could only watch from the side bitterly. Seeing this, Lan Luoyan and the others started to ridicule her. What a pig. She only knows how to eat and sleep all day long. With her current state, she can't even compare to Sister Xian's finger. Exactly. Sister Xian is at the 6th level of the extreme spiritual stage. She is only at the 9th level of the nirvana stage, not to mention her family background. She actually dares to snatch a man from Sister Xian. She really overestimates herself. Maybe she used some unspeakable means to seduce Lan Luochen. How shameless. While they were talking happily, they suddenly shivered because they felt a thick killing intent. Chapter 49:01 was too brutal. Lan Luofeng felt a shadow flash by her side, and then she heard the screams of Lan Luofeng and the others. She focused her eyes and saw that Yun Chuzhou was holding Lan Luoyen in her left hand and Lan Luomei in her right hand. It was as if she was clapping her hands, knocking the two of them together. Yes, face to face. In a moment, the bridge of Lan Luoyen and Lan Luomei's noses were broken. Their faces were covered in blood, and their shrill screams made people's hair stand on end. Yun Chuzhou frowned and threw her hands. Lan Luoyen and Lan Luomei crashed into the wall and passed out. Whoever disturbs my sleep again will end up like them. Hei Xinjiu went back to her seat and fell asleep again. Everyone looked at each other. They were too fucking brutal. In the blink of an eye, Lan Luoyen and Lan Luomei were caught by her. Moreover, Lan Luoyen and Lan Luomei's cultivation was higher than hers. How did she do it? Everyone had different feelings, but no one dared to provoke Yun Chuzhou. Only a few people who were close to Lan Luoyen carried her and Lan Luomei out of the training hall. Lan Luofeng, on the other hand, was guarding Yun Chuzhou by the side. She was glad that she did not provoke this fiend in the morning. Her morning anger was too scary. Hei Xinjiu slept until evening before she opened her eyes and stretched. Lan Luofeng saw that she had returned to her usual appearance and said, "Little Jiu, you're so scary when you wake up. You're like a completely different person." Yun Chujia's stretching movements slowed down. She recalled what had happened before. Although her memory was still there, it was a little blurry. It seemed to be similar to how she had unsealed the seal after being strongly stimulated in the past. Could it be that this lack of sleep could also stimulate her potential? If that was really the case, this was a good idea. Seeing that Yun Chuzhou did not reply, Lan Luofeng continued to say, "Mr. Shi is punishing you to cut down an immortal tree. Let's go, I'll go with you." Yun Chuzhou nodded and absent-mindedly followed Lan Luofeng to the spot where the immortal tree was cut down. Hei Xinjiu had the experience from last time. A moment later, she had cut down an undying wood, and in a blink of an eye, she had cut down 3 more in succession. Lan Luofeng looked baffled. "Little Jiu, Mr. Shi only punished you to cut down 1 tree. Why did you cut down so many trees?" "Save them for later, in case I have to come back again." "This is called being prepared," Hei Xinjiu said with a smile. The guard guarding the immortal wood, after Hei Xinjiu received the wooden token, the two of them walked back while chatting and laughing. Lan Luofeng cursed in her heart. Little Jiu was like a completely different person. She was like a god of death before, but now she was laughing and laughing. Could it be that she had some kind of disease? The two of them walked for some distance, but they were stopped by a group of people. Lan Luoyan's face was bandaged like a pig's head. She gnashed her teeth and said, "Yun Chuzhou, you hit me, are you going to let it go just like that? I'd rather be punished, and I'll kill you today. All of you, attack. Leave Lan Luofeng alive and kill this Yun Chuzhou." Lan Luofeng's expression changed. This Lan Luoyen was clearly completely angered by little Jiu. Otherwise, she wouldn't have used such a desperate method. Just as Yun Chuzhou was about to let them taste the chili noodles, she heard someone say softly, "Sister Luoyen, quickly stop." Following the voice, a group of people walked over from afar. The leader was Mu Zian. Chapter 4902 You are not thin-skinned. When Lan Luoyen saw that it was Mu Zian, she could not help but cry and said, "Sister Zian, this bitch beat me up for no reason. I'm really angry. Sister Yun has always been naughty. I'll let her apologize to you." Mu Zian comforted her. Sister Yun, give me some thin-skinned face and apologize to Sister Luo Yan immediately. Then this matter will be over. How about it? Mu Zian looked at Yun Chujiu and said with a faint smile. Yun Chujiu curled the corners of her lips. You are not a face, hee. Mu Zian was stunned at first, then she became angry out of embarrassment. If she said that she was not a face, then was she mocking her for being thick-skinned? This damn bitch. Sister Yun, I was kind enough to mediate for you. It's fine if you don't appreciate my kindness, but why did you hurl such hurtful words at me? Mu Zian said with a tone that was just right. She glanced into the distance. She had seen cousin Luo Chen earlier, so he must be able to hear their conversation. Then, she would show him what kind of person he liked. Yun Chujiu. Sister Zian, I said that you are not a person with a thin face. I meant that you have a lot of face. How could you hurtful words at me? Yun Chujiu looked innocent. You. Mu Zian was so angry that she choked. This bitch was really sharp-tongued. Yun Chujiu's smile became even brighter. She glanced at Lan Luoyan and said, forget it. Since Sister Zian has such a lot of face, I won't argue with her. Sister Luofang, let's go. Yun Chujiu dragged Lan Luofang and was about to leave. Just as Lan Luofang was about to go forward, she was stopped by Mu Zian with her eyes. She could only watch as Yun Chujiu and Lan Luofang left. Lan Luoyan was furious, but she did not dare to lash out at Mu Zian. Mu Zian said gently, Sister Luoyan, you are sisters, why do you have to make things so difficult? Besides, cousin said that Sister Yun is his person, so you should not find trouble with her. Her words were naturally meant for Lan Luochen, who was not far away. With this comparison, he would know who was more suitable to be his wife. However, when she looked out of the corner of her eye, Lan Luchen's shadow was nowhere to be seen. He must have gone to chase after Yun Chujiu. Mu Zian's hands were tightly clasped together as she gritted her teeth. Good, very good. Then, she would think of a way to kill that slut. She walked up to Lan Luoyan and lowered her voice as she said, Sister Luoyan, you want to kill Yun Chujiu in such a high-profile manner. Let's not talk about whether you will be punished or not. There are people coming and going here, and it's not far from the third concubine. You can't kill her at all. Then let's just let it go. That bitch has repeatedly humiliated me. I really can't take this lying down. Lan Luoyan said through gritted teeth. Lan Luoyan's eyes lit up. If she could do this, it would be for the best. Not only could she take revenge, but she could also be in the limelight. It couldn't be better. She was about to ask what method to use, but Mu Zian gave her a look. The two of them immediately brought people back to the main room to discuss. On the other side, Yun Chujiu and Lan Luofang didn't walk far before Lan Luochen chased after them. Little Jiu, I have something important to tell you. Lan Luochen said with a serious expression. What is it? I'm in a hurry to go back and have dinner. If you have something to say it quickly. If you have something to say it quickly. Hei Xinzhou said in a bad mood. Chapter 4903, Yuan Ji. Lan Luchen's expression froze for a moment, then he said, I'm going to leave for a period of time, but I'll leave Yuan Ji behind to protect you. You have to be careful. Yun Chujiu's eyes suddenly lit up. You're going to leave? Are you never coming back? Lan Luchen's heart ached. Did she really not want to see him? Yun Chujiu saw that his expression was dark and gloomy. She thought to herself not to anger him. It would be bad if he didn't leave, so she said, I mean, how long are you going to be gone? Also, Yuan Ji doesn't need to stay for me. It's better to follow and protect you. I can protect myself. When Lan Luochen heard this, a faint smile appeared on his face. I'll be back soon. At most 3 months, at least 1 month. I have other people to protect me. Yuan Ji will stay here to protect you. Little Jiu, when I come back, I'll ask our ancestor to agree to our marriage, Yun Chujo interrupted impatiently. I'm still waiting to go back for dinner. I don't have time to listen to your nonsense. Big cousin, have a safe trip. Goodbye. He Xinjiu dragged the dazed Lan Luofang and ran away. Lan Luochen was sad, helpless, and reluctant. In the end, he sighed. Yuan Ji, who was standing at the side, felt as if his heart was broken. He tried to hold it in, but he still couldn't hold it in. Pavilion Master, you'd better let me go with you. Yun Chujo was in the Lan family. As long as she didn't do anything evil, there was no danger. Moreover, she has a belly full of evil water. It might not be anyone's bad luck. Lan Luochen glanced at him. Go to the third room now to look for little Jiu. You must stay by her side to protect her. If anything happens to little Jiu, I'll take your life. After saying this, Lan Luochen turned around and left. Yuan Ji was so angry that he was twitching. He was considered to have a good temper, but he was simply about to be angered to the point of collapse by the pavilion master. What was so good about that damned girl that she actually caused him to be so deranged? Yuan Ji gritted his teeth, but he still accepted his fate and went to the third room. I request to see Yun Chu, young mistress, Yuan Ji said to the guard guarding the door. The guard did not dare to be negligent and immediately reported it to Yun Chujo. Yuan Ji was so angry that he gritted his teeth. However, when he recalled what Lan Luochen said before he left, he had no choice but to give the guard some spirit stones and let him report back. Unfortunately, the reply he received was still that Miss didn't have time to see him. Yuan Ji was both angry and anxious. He finally thought of an idea. He gritted his teeth and said, "Tell Miss that I owed her 10,000 high-grade spirit stones back then. This time, I'm here to return the money." After a while, the guard replied, "Miss Yuan said that you owe her 100,000 high-grade spiritual stones. If the money is not enough, you don't have to pay her back for the time being." Yuan Ji was so angry that his head was buzzing. Good, very good. This wretched girl was getting more and more greedy. Finally, Yuan Ji finally met He Xinjiu at the price of 100,000 spiritual stones. He Xinjiu tossed the spiritual stones in her hand with a smile and said to Yuan Ji, whose face was livid, "Yuan Ji, are you feeling aggrieved now?" "Huh? Yuan Ji, I don't want to talk to this iron rooster." "Sigh, actually, we are in the same boat. I don't want to have anything to do with Lan Luochen, and you don't want Lan Luochen to get along with me, so we should cooperate well. Why do you have to treat me as your enemy?" Thinking back, in the East Phoenix country, Imperial Preceptor Yuan Ji was a handsome middle-aged uncle. How come he has become a resentful wife now? Yun Chujo said with a chuckle. Chapter 4904 was her, it was her, Yuan Ji snorted coldly and cursed in his heart. Who was the main culprit that he had become like this? It was her. If it wasn't for her turning the wise pavilion master into a madman, would he need to put in so much effort? Yun Chujo saw that Yuan Ji didn't say anything and continued, "Since we have the same goal, then we are comrades to a certain extent, so you don't have to be so hostile to me. Besides, if you put aside the fact that you're Lan Luchen's subordinate, it's not a problem for me to treat him like this. It's his wishful thinking and forcing others to do so. What I'm doing is just to protect myself." Yuan Ji snorted again, but he still didn't say anything. "If I can get Lan Luochen to get rid of his obsession, it would be a great thing for me and you, so I hope you can cooperate with me." Before Yun Chujo could finish her sentence, Yuan Ji interrupted her, "My mission is to protect you temporarily. I'm not interested in anything else." After Yuan Ji finished speaking, he found an empty room and went in. Apparently, he had no intention of continuing the conversation with Yun Chujo. He Xinjiu pursed her lips. "Little girl, let's wait and see." In the Lan family's ancestral house, in the study room of the Lan family's ancestor, an old man wearing a mask asked in puzzlement, "Master, why did you ask someone to bring Muzi in here?" Master, you asked someone to bring Mu Zian here so that she could cultivate a relationship with young Master Luo Chen. Why did you send young Master Luo Chen away again? The Lan family's patriarch took a sip of tea and then said, we can't delay Luo Chen's injury any longer. He can completely recover there. Besides, with him around, that girl of the Mu family can't use any means to deal with that troublemaker. Only by sending him away can we have a good show. The old man, was Master having a stroke? The old ancestor of the Lan family continued, besides, after the incident in the Zen sect, I found out that troublemaker has many secrets. However, this girl is too shrewd. Only by putting her in danger can her true strength be revealed. If we don't send the Fallout Kid away, how can we force her to reveal her true strength? The old man asked with some worry, however, what about the Divine Devil Hall? They have already urged you twice. If you don't hand Yun Chujio over to them, I'm afraid they will fall out with each other. The Lan family's patriarch snorted coldly, they are just shouting happily. With the support of the Zen sect, they don't dare to openly fall out with each other. Moreover, according to the investigation, most of the people of the Divine Devil Hall have gathered in the wilderness recently. They can't take care of this little girl at the moment. Who exactly is he? Why did the Divine Devil Hall go through so much trouble to kill him? The old ancestor of the Lan family shook his head. The Divine Devil Hall has always been secretive. The reason why they cooperated with them last time was because their conditions were generous enough. I always feel that there should be a big secret hidden in this. That's why I want to keep that troublemaker. Let's wait and see. There's no rush. When the Lan family's ancestor said this, he suddenly frowned. The old man immediately nodded and his figure flashed and he had already arrived outside the study. However, he looked around and did not find any suspicious people. He only saw a few long-winged fireflies that were commonly seen in the heavy cloud continent on the tree in the courtyard. Although there were beast controllers in the heavy cloud continent, these long-winged fireflies had a strong temperament. No one had ever successfully tamed them. Therefore, the old man only took a few glances before turning around and entering the study. Chapter 4905, She was going to help the gigolo, Master, there is nothing unusual, the old man said respectfully. The Lan family's ancestor nodded. His courtyard was heavily guarded, so he must have been suspicious. The two chatted for a while, and then the old man left. At the same time, one of the long-winged fireflies on the tree flapped its wings and left the ancestral house, flying to He Xinjia's house. This long-winged firefly was caught by Yun Chujio a few days ago, so she did not have much hope. After all, the Lan family's ancestors' cultivation was too strong. She did not expect to really get useful information this time. When He Xinjio heard the news it sent back, her eyes flashed. Wild Hope Wilderness. It seemed that the gigolo and the others were trapped there. She recalled the records about the Wild Hope Wilderness that she had read in the library and made a decision. She wanted to go to the Wild Hope Wilderness to help the pretty boy and the rest. If it were any other place, she would not go and cause trouble. But the Wild Hope Wilderness, hee, the scum of the Divine Devil Hall, you deserve your bad luck. However, she had to wait for an opportunity to leave the Lan family. This opportunity was the heavenly thunder that would strike Mount Sumru in 10 days. At that time, not only would she be able to increase her spiritual power, she could also take advantage of this opportunity to escape from the Lan family's surveillance. Of course, after helping the pretty boy and the others escape, she still had to return to the Lan family. After all, this place was safer than other places. The main purpose of her trip this time was also to help the pretty boy treat the cold poison. At the very least, her blood was still effective against the cold poison in his body. At the very least, she could even kiss him on the lips. Perhaps she could let the Guai Chao seduce some of the cold poison in his body. After Yun Chujio made up her mind, she felt that the depression she had been feeling for the past few days had dissipated a lot and she fell asleep soundly. In the next few days, everything went as usual. Lan Luoyen did not find trouble with Yun Chuzhou again, and the Lan family's sect competition had begun again. Yun Chuzhou was not interested in this competition at all. She was just waiting for the heavenly thunder to come so that she could take the opportunity to go to the wilderness. She was not interested, but there were people who were interested in her. Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu had been defeated by her last time, and they were both trying their best to take revenge. There was also Lan Luoji. Last time, he was tricked by her with 50 spiritual stones. He hated her to death. As for Lan Luoyen, she wanted to kill him. Therefore, after Elder Ning announced the start of the competition, the four of them challenged Yun Chuzhou. The problem was that one person could only fight two people. Only two of the four people had the chance to fight Yun Chuzhou. The crowd was so angry that their noses almost went crooked. It was the first time they heard of a competition. At this moment, Mu Zian said gently, "Cousin Luo Cheng, your cultivation level is much higher than Sister Yun's. Let Luo Yen compete with her." When Lan Luocheng heard this, he was immediately overwhelmed by the favor and said, "Since Sister Zian has said so, let's do as you say." Lan Luomu glanced at Lan Luoji, and Lan Luoji tactfully withdrew. He was just a bastard son, how would he dare to go against Lan Luomu? Lan Luoyen was the first to step onto the stage, her face full of pride. She was going to teach this bitch a lesson today, and it was all her own fault. Seeing that Yun Chuzhou was dawdling for a long time and did not step onto the stage, she said impatiently, "Yun Chuzhou, come up quickly." Chapter 4906. Infuriating Yun Chuzhou looked at Lan Luoyen with a smile and said, "Lan Luoyen, you've made a mistake. You can challenge me, but I won't accept the challenge. Don't you think it's infuriating?" She glanced at Lan Luoyen and Mu Zian. These two bastards must have thought of some bad idea to deal with her. She heard that the Mu family was good at refining pills, and the Lan family's competition did not prohibit the use of talismans and poisons. They probably wanted to poison her to death, right? TSK, how naive. Lan Luoyen was so angry that her head was buzzing. That's right, the family's competition only needed to compete with two people in the end. There was no rule that required one to accept a challenge. So, she had been busy for so many days in vain. At this moment, Yun Chuzhou said with a smile, "How about this, if you give me 100,000 high-grade spirit stones, I'll agree to compete with you. Otherwise, there's no need to talk about it." Lan Luoyen was so angry that she almost fell off the stage. How shameless. She had never seen such a shameless person. She was about to refuse when she saw Mu Zian wink at her. She remembered that she had made all the necessary preparations. Even if she wasted 100,000 high-grade spirit stones, it would still be worth it, so she said, "Okay, I promise you. Then you transfer the money to me first, then I'll go on stage." "I'm afraid that you won't admit it," Yun Chuzhou said with a smile. Lan Luoyen had no choice but to transfer the spirit stones to Yun Chuzhou. Then, after a long while, Yun Chuzhou didn't go on stage. She urged her in a bad mood, "Yun Chuzhou, you've already accepted my spirit stones. Do you want to go back on your word? Come on up quickly. Sister Luoyen, I want you to stand on the stage for a while longer. After all, if I go up, I will kick you off the stage in less than 10 moves, Yun Chuzhou said with a smile. "Yun Chuzhou, stop talking nonsense. If you don't come up, you will lose," Lan Luoyen said angrily. "Okay, then I admit defeat." "Elder Ning, did you hear that?" Lan Luoyen agreed that I admit defeat, so I admit defeat, He Xingjiu said with a smile. Elder Ning immediately announced, "Lan Luoyen, the eldest son, wins." Lan Luoyen, her heart was like a dog that was bawling. She had prepared for more than 10 days, and in the end, it was over. She didn't want a victory, okay? She wanted that bitch's life. The most infuriating thing was that she even gave that bitch 100,000 spiritual stones. It was infuriating. Mu Zian was also furious. Was this Lan Luoyan a fool? Why did she have to say such words? Now, all her previous preparations were in vain. Lan Luofang gritted her teeth and looked at Lan Luofang, who was beside Yun Chuzhou. Since there was no way to deal with that Yun Chuzhou, she would let Lan Luofang take the blame for her. Thus, she said, Lan Luofang, I challenge you. Lan Luofang remembered what Yun Chuzhou said to her and said indifferently, I won't accept your challenge. You can find someone else. Lan Luofang was so angry that she almost died. Ever since Lan Luofang followed this Yun Chuzhou, she became more and more shameless. Lan Luofang said a few harsh words, but Lan Luofang remembered what Yun Chuzhou said, people were shameless and invincible. She thought that Lan Luofang was just barking like a dog and wouldn't accept the challenge no matter what. In the end, Lan Luoyan had to find someone else to compete. Although she won 2 matches in the end, she was still so depressed that she wanted to vomit blood. Chapter 4907 Fell asleep. Yun Chuzhou looked at the twisted faces of Mu Zian and Lan Luoyan, and her heart was bursting with joy. These 2 idiots still wanted to scheme against her. In your dreams. However, this guy immediately slapped his thigh. Oh no, she was only focused on teasing Lan Luoyan. She did not go on stage just now, and in the end, she might have to face Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu again. Wasn't she making herself uncomfortable? Although she was not afraid of them, it was a little difficult without exposing the secret. Xiao Hanio's curse could only be used to deal with one person, what about the other person? She suddenly thought of Buddha's candle. In the Zen sect, Buddha's candle could take over another person's body. If it took over Lan Lucheng's or Lan Luma's body, wouldn't everything be fine? This fellow thought again. No, if that was the case, the ancestor of the Lan family would definitely not let her off. She had to think of another way. At this moment, Buddha's candle said weakly, I have to make one thing clear first. The Zen sect has psyche power, and those monks practice Buddhist power, so I can easily take over those monks' bodies. But outside, I probably can't. Yun Chuzhou, it was nothing. It was really nothing. She was already used to it. No matter how good a treasure was, it would be useless to her. Although He Xinzhou comforted herself like this, she was still half-dead angry. The strong resentment scared Lan Luofang, who was beside her. Little Zhou, you didn't sleep well yesterday again? He Xinjia's eyes suddenly lit up. Yes, she could try to wake up angry. Maybe she could kill everyone. It just so happened that there were more people in the family competition this time than last time, so there was no way she could finish the competition in a day. As long as she waited until dawn before sleeping, she could totally use her anger to teach them a lesson. The more she thought about it, the more beautiful she became. She immediately said to Lan Luofang with a smile, Sister Luofang, you are really my little lucky star. Lan Luofang, little Zhou is acting up again, isn't he? Everyone tacitly did not challenge Yun Chuzhou again. They wanted to leave her to Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu. Although there was still Lan Luohan in the 3rd branch, everyone did not think highly of him. As time passed, the sky gradually darkened, but the competition was still going on. He Xinzhou yawned as she watched, reminding herself in her heart that she could not sleep, she could not sleep. She had to wait until dawn to sleep. This way, she would have the energy to clean up these dregs when she woke up. However, this guy still fell asleep after watching. Lan Luofang was speechless. How big-hearted was this guy? She looked at the fight on the spectator stand in a daze, then looked at the people around her. She asked Lan Luofang in a daze, I fell asleep last night. Why didn't you wake me up? Lan Luofang, who would dare to scream when you woke up? He Xinzhou wanted to cry, but no tears came out. It's over, why did she fall asleep? At this moment, Lan Luomu sneered and said, Yun Chuzhou, only Lan Luocheng and I have a chance to challenge you now. Do you want to fight me or Lan Luocheng first? Yun Chujio, I admit defeat. Lan Luomu sneered and said, admit defeat? We don't agree with you admitting defeat. You have to fight with us. Yun Chujio wanted to fight with them, but she found that the sky had begun to darken. She looked up and saw a large cloud gathering in the direction of Mount Meru. It was the heavenly lightning. She immediately lost the patience to fight with Lan Luomu and Lan Luocheng. She jumped onto the stage and said, you two trash, come at me together. Chapter 4908, Old Fox, get out here. The moment Yun Chujio's words left her mouth, the entire place fell silent and burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, what a joke. Is this Yun Chujio crazy? Her. 1 versus 2. Don't you know how she won last time? She's overestimating herself. That's right. She probably thinks that she's going to lose no matter what, which is why she said that. I think she's just going through the motions. She'll have to admit defeat after a few moves. What you said makes sense. I think that's also true. Even if the sun rises from the west, it's impossible for her to defeat Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu by herself. Yun Chujio heard everyone's discussion and cursed in her heart. Damn it, why does everyone know her so well? She just planned to go up and randomly make a few moves before rushing to Mount Meru. The heavenly lightning didn't wait for anyone. Lan Luomu pursed his lips. Yun Chujio was dreaming. He and Lan Luocheng had already reached an agreement. She wanted to give up after a few gestures. Impossible. The two of them together with the 4 spiritual beasts could completely block her escape route. She would not even have the chance to jump off the stage. Yun Chujio naturally knew that Lan Luomu and Lan Luocheng would not let her give up easily. However, she had the talisman and chili noodles in her hands. It was very easy for her to escape and jump off the stage. This fellow was confident, so he jumped onto the stage with a smile. Just as the 3 of them were about to fight, Elder Ning called Yun Chujio to the side and said in a voice that only the 2 of them could hear, Miss Cousin, the old ancestor just sent a message saying that if you can't win this round, he will send someone to send you to young Master Luochen after the competition and let you cultivate with him. Yun Chujio, what kind of rotten idea is this old fox having? Yun Chujio gritted her teeth. Anyway, she still had talismans and poison. If she planned carefully, she should be able to take care of these 2 dregs. At this moment, Elder Ning raised his voice and said, in this round, the 3 of you are forbidden to use talismans and poison. Yes, chili and pepper noodles are also forbidden. Alright, we can begin. Yun Chujio, old fox. Get out here. I'm going to kill you. It was clearly only during the family competition that talismans and poison were prohibited. Why was this small competition not allowed to be used? This old fox was doing it on purpose. Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu heard this and looked at each other. They could see the killing intent in each other's eyes. Yun Chujio, you're dead for sure. At this moment, Yun Chujio's heart was like a dog that was bickering. If she did not have the talismans and poison, it would not be too difficult for her to find an opportunity to jump off the competition stage. However, that damned old fox insisted that she win first place. This was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Most importantly, she did not have the time to waste with these 2 dregs. If Wu Yun took advantage of this moment to escape, she would have nowhere to cry. The only reliable method she had now was the curse of the Xiao Hanyo. However, she only had 1 chance every day, yet she was facing 2 people. It was too difficult. Just as Yun Chujio was worrying, Lan Luomu and Lan Luocheng had already made their move. The 2 of them knew that Yun Chujio was full of bad intentions, so they immediately launched their killing moves. Their natal spirit beasts and auxiliary spirit beasts all materialized, and the 2 of them also attacked Yun Chujio at the same time. Yun Chujio did not have time to think too much. She hurriedly shot out several small purple needles, and as she dodged, she summoned Cheap Slut No. 1 to release her sword intent. Chapter 4909, Yuan G 4 Spirit Beasts, Lan Luomu, and Lan Luocheng trapped Yun Chujiu, while Yun Chujiu was running for her life. Most of the people below the stage looked like they were watching a good show. As for Mu Zian and the others, they were gloating. After this competition, even if Yun Chujiu didn't die, she would be skinned alive. Anyone with eyes could see that Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu didn't intend to give her a chance to admit defeat. Perhaps, Yun Chujiu would die on the competition stage soon. Lan Luoyan was secretly resentful. This bitch cheated her of 100,000 spirit stones, but so what? She was dead for sure. Of course, there were also a few people who were worried about Yun Chujiu, such as Lan Luofang and Lan Dimeo. Lan Luofang was truly worried about Yun Chujiu's safety, while Lan Dimeo was more calculating about benefits. He calculated in his heart that if it really did not work, he would have to save her in the end. No matter what, he had to keep her alive. However, he could only act when the situation was critical. Otherwise, the big branch and the second branch would be dissatisfied. In the corner, there was another person who had been paying attention to the situation on the stage. This person was Yuan Ji. Yuan Ji's heart was eager for Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu to kill Yun Chujiu. This way, their pavilion master wouldn't have to go crazy over this stinky girl. However, when he thought about the fact that if this stinky girl died, there was an 80% chance that he wouldn't be able to survive, he was extremely conflicted. Should he save her or not? At this moment, on the stage, Yun Chujiu was already in a perilous situation. If not for her extremely agile movements and the 3 layers of sword intent, she would have died long ago. Even so, she was forced to the point of not being able to retaliate. She could only passively dodge. Yun Chujiu saw that the sky was getting darker and darker. She was very anxious. How could she quickly defeat these 2 dregs? Should she use a small flame? However, this way, she would be suspected of the fire in the imperial city. It was too risky. At this moment, He Xinjiu missed De Hua very much. If she had De Hua, she would at least have some time to catch her breath. The Guai Chao in her dantian waved its leaves desperately. In her heart, she cried out silently, "Let me go, let me go, let me go." Once the Gowei Batsao appeared, who could compete with it? Unfortunately, He Xinjiu had never considered the Gowei Batsao. It was not like she did not let it go last time, but what happened in the end? Being chased around by other people's spiritual beasts, it was simply too weak. He Xinjiu thought of her jinx skill again, desperately shouting in her heart, "Hurry up and use heavenly lightning to chop these 2 bastards to death." However, it was useless. These skills of hers were always active and sometimes not. It was simply too fucking conniving. If it weren't for the conditions that didn't allow it, she would have taken out a piece of Bodhi leaf and played a song to try it out. This guy gritted his teeth. Forget it. Let's just take out a large kitchen knife and try it out. No matter what, a large kitchen knife should be better than little bitch number 1. Sigh, no matter how many immortal swords there were, they couldn't be compared to a large kitchen knife. When this fellow thought of this, her heart jolted. She seemed to have a skill that she had not used for a long time. That was flying swords. Back then, when she met a strong enemy, she would occasionally use her spiritual sense to control a few flying swords to attack the enemy. The effect was still pretty good. She wondered if the effect would be even more powerful now that she had mastered sword intent. He Xinjiu was now desperate. Moreover, she did not have the time to practice. She simply summoned little slut number 2 to little slut number 9 and floated in midair. Instantly, everyone was stunned. Chapter 49:10, The Forgotten Flying Sword Skill. Oh my god, what? What is Yun Chujiu doing? If we include the sword in her hand, she can control 9 swords at the same time. TSK, you're thinking too much. She's just a pompous person. It's impossible for her to control 9 swords at the same time. She's just trying to scare people. That's right. It's impossible for her to use the sword in her hand to maintain the sword intent and command the 8 swords at the same time. If you don't believe me, just watch. In a few seconds, those swords will fall to the ground. Everyone shook their heads at Yun Chujia's behavior. They felt that she was deliberately mystifying things, because no one had ever done that before. Because no matter how powerful a person's spiritual sense was, it was impossible to control so many swords at the same time, let alone use them in a fight. Yuan Ji had heard that Yun Chuzhou could control many swords at the same time, but he felt that Lan Luochen was exaggerating. After all, in Lan Luchen's eyes, even Yun Chujia's eyelashes were good. Moreover, even if she could control multiple swords, it would depend on the level of the opponent. If the opponent was just an ordinary demon beast, perhaps she only needed to control those swords. But now, she was facing Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu. This little trick only made people laugh after a meal. Just as Yuan Ji was thinking, he heard the laughter of the crowd. He looked at the stage and saw the 8 swords that were floating in the air were slapped to the ground by Lan Luocheng and Lan Luma's spiritual beasts. Just as they were about to float, they were slapped down by the spiritual beasts. Lan Luoyen gloated and shouted, "Yun Chuzhou, don't embarrass yourself here. How can a good-for-nothing like you command so many swords at the same time? Dream on." Lan Luomei also echoed, "That's right, you don't even understand how to use a sword, and you still want to use a flying sword to hurt people? Are you stupid?" Ha ha ha. Yun Chuzhou didn't have the energy to care about their sarcasm. At this moment, she had to use the little bitch number 1 in her hand to protect herself, and on the other hand, she had to mobilize the little bitch number 2 to number 9. "Can you guys fight for me? You are immortal swords, okay? Each and every one of you is drunk, kill them all." The little bitch number 2 to number 9 were also very aggrieved, and it was not their fault. Usually, He Xinjiu only used the little bitch number 1, so they had no chance to come out. Besides, it was mainly because of He Xinjia's spiritual sense. Her own skills were rusty, so why should she rely on them? Shameless. He Xinjiu also knew this. She had not used her skills for a long time, so it was inevitable that she was a little out of practice. However, she would not be so easily humiliated by Lan Luocheng and Lan Luma's spiritual beasts. She was trying to numb them. She wanted to take advantage of their carelessness to familiarize herself with the operation of the 8 immortal swords, and then, she would hit them with one hit. Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu saw that Yun Chujia's treasured swords had been smashed into pieces by their spiritual beasts, and their faces showed contempt. This Yun Chuzhou was struggling on the brink of death. She was dead for sure today. Yuan Ji was speechless. This was the amazing flying sword that their pavilion master had mentioned. Pavilion master, how blind are you? With this level of skill, any random person on the street would be better than her, alright? At this moment, the 8 flying swords that were smashed by the spirit beast suddenly burst out and stabbed towards Lan Luocheng and Lan Luma's vital points respectively. Chapter 49:11. Wake up. Due to the speed of the flying swords, Lan Luocheng and Lan Luma's spiritual beasts could not react at all. They allowed the 8 flying swords to stab at Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu. The crowd below the stage cried out in surprise. "Oh my god, what happened? Weren't those flying swords still swaying from side to side just now? How did they become so fast now? Could it be that Yun Chuzhou did it on purpose just now? Just to make Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu lower their guard? If that was the case, this Yun Chuzhou was too wicked. She was simply too wicked. Lan Luocheng and Lan Luomu were fighting with Yun Chuzhou. Even in their dreams, they never thought that the 8 flying swords would suddenly explode. They didn't even have the time to raise their spiritual energy shields. They could only try their best to avoid the vital parts of their bodies and hit the flying swords with the wind of their palms. What shocked them was that the flying swords could actually avoid the wind of their palms. How was this possible? Because they were too shocked, their movements were inevitably a little slow. Although they avoided the vital parts, both of them were injured by the flying swords to varying degrees. At this moment, Yun Chujo had the little black bird curse Lan Luamu, who was closer to the edge of the competition stage. Lan Luma's leg was already stabbed by the flying swords, and after being cursed by the little black bird, he immediately knelt on the ground. Yun Chujo naturally would not let go of such a good opportunity. She flew up and kicked Lan Luamu off the stage. The people below the stage did not have the time to cry out in surprise when they saw the 8 flying swords flying up and down, separating Lan Lucheng's 2 spiritual beasts from him. Yun Chujo looked at Lan Luocheng and curled the corners of her lips. Without the spiritual beasts, Lan Luocheng would not be her match at all, not to mention that he had already been stabbed in the right shoulder by the flying swords. If she was not in a hurry to rush to Mount Meru, she would definitely play a good game with him. What a pity! Yun Chujo shot out several small purple needles at Lan Luocheng. Although the power of these small things was limited, they could divert Lan Luocheng's attention. Lan Luocheng gnashed his teeth in hatred. He really could not understand how Yun Chujo could control 8 flying swords at the same time. This bitch really deserved to die. Just as he was slightly distracted, a flying sword that was originally blocking the spiritual beast suddenly changed direction and shot towards Lan Luocheng's back. Lan Luocheng sensed the movement behind him and subconsciously dodged to the side. Yun Chujo had already predicted his reaction. She calmly raised her sword and stabbed towards Lan Luocheng's front. Lan Luocheng had no choice but to dodge again, but he forgot that Yun Chujo had deliberately lured him to the edge of the competition stage. He slipped and fell directly below the competition stage. Yun Chujo put away her flying sword and looked at Elder Ning, who was already in a daze. She curled the corners of her lips. Elder Ning, wake up. This is the competition stage. Elder Ning, wake up. He wasn't sleeping. He was scared, okay. He originally thought that the ancestor was deliberately messing with Yun Chujo. With her cultivation, how could she defeat Lan Luocheng and Lan Luamu in a 1 versus 2 battle? He didn't expect that this little girl could command 8 flying swords at the same time. This was too unbelievable. Although she had taken the advantage of surprise, if Lan Luocheng and Lan Luamu had been prepared, she might not have won, but this was enough to surprise people. No wonder the old ancestor would make such a request. It seemed that the old ancestor had a sharp eye. Elder Ning calmed down a little and then said in a clear voice, "This round, the 3 branches, Yun Chujo wins." Chapter 49:12 was that he was blind. The audience below the stage were all dumbstruck. At this moment, they had also regained their senses. Oh my god, Yun Chujo actually won. Commanding 8 flying swords at the same time, no, 9. Don't forget that she still had 1 in her hands. This was too unbelievable. Mu Xian's expression was very ugly. She had underestimated this slut. Her spiritual sense was actually so strong. So what? In front of her, this little bitch was just an ant. If she wasn't afraid that her cousin would be unhappy, she could kill her with just a finger. Yuan Ji, who was in the corner, decided to take back his words. It wasn't that their pavilion master was blind, it was that he was blind. He didn't expect this troublemaker to have some real ability other than his mouth. Just as Yuan Ji was thinking about it, he saw Yun Chujo jump down from the competition stage. She held her stomach and said, make way, I'm in a hurry to go to the toilet." Lan Dimeo wanted to praise her, but when he saw this, the corner of his mouth twitched, and he had no choice but to let her leave. Yuan Ji watched Yun Chujo run away and could only wait at the same place. He could not follow her to the female toilet, right? However, after a long while, Yun Chujo did not return. At this time, the sky had completely darkened. He pondered for a moment and guessed that the troublemaker had gone straight to the 3rd room. However, when he returned to Yun Chujia's courtyard, he found that Yun Chujo had not returned. Where had she gone? Hei Shinjo naturally rushed to Mount Meru in a hurry. When they left the city, the guards at the city gates saw Hei Shinjo heading in the direction of Mount Meru. They were puzzled. Could it be that Miss Yun was going to have another drill? This time, they had to be alert at night so as not to disappoint Miss Yun. Yun Chujo did not know what the guards were thinking. She flew towards Mount Meru on her flying spirit tool. This fellow was burning with anxiety, afraid that she would not be able to make it in time to be struck. This fellow sighed. She had brought this flying spirit tool from the sky-high continent. Its speed could not be compared to the flying spirit tool of the Lan family's ancestor. If there was a chance, she would have to buy a few high-quality flying spirit tools from the Qing family in the Valley of Fog. When she was close to the edge of Mount Meru, Yun Chujo remembered that Mount Meru was forbidden from flying. She quickly directed the flying spirit tool to land on the ground and ran towards the depths of Mount Meru. While running, she observed the gathering dark clouds in the sky and was delighted. This time, it was a young girl. The dark cloud from last time was too sneaky. It had run away when she saw Wu Yun at the Zen sect, which had caused her to miss even a bolt of lightning, let alone a cloud wing. Thinking of this, Hei Shinjo said arrogantly to Wu Yun in the sky, "Hey, that bastard in the sky, try to strike me if you have the ability." When Wu Yun in the sky heard the provocation, he felt that this little girl below was an idiot. She actually dared to provoke Wu Yun. Was she crazy? It could casually strike a few heavenly lightning bolts and turn her into ashes. Then, after a dozen bolts of lightning, the little girl was still alive and kicking, and her attitude became even more arrogant. "Hey, how dare a piece of trash like you float in the sky? You should find a hole to hide in, aren't you too shameless? TSK, who gave you the courage? How dare such a weak piece of trash come out of a cloud? Aren't you afraid of being treated like cotton candy?" Chapter 49:13. Another cloud wing was in his hands. Wu Yun was so angry that he was shivering. Lightning struck down one after another, but it did not do anything to Hei Shinjo even after more than 2 hours. Wu Yun thought for a moment. The mission that he came here for this time was not this stupid girl. It was more important to complete the mission first. Just when he was about to give up, he heard Yun Chujo exclaim, "Ouch! I can't take it anymore. I can't hold on any longer. If you strike me 10 more times, I'll definitely die." Wu Yun was immediately overjoyed and immediately struck Hei Shinjo. After repeating this over and over again, when Wu Yun regained his senses, the heavenly lightning that he carried had already been used up, but the wretched girl below was completely unharmed. Ah, that was not right. Her hair had already been chopped off. Hei Shinjo was overjoyed. Wu Yun was so gullible. It would be even more perfect if she took out another cloud wing. The guy took out a porcelain bottle in pain. Inside was the blood that she had drained in advance to treat Di Baiming's cold poison. A sinister smile appeared on her lips. As long as her blood was on the cloud wing would break away from Wu Yun's body and become hers. It was so wonderful. This fellow hid the porcelain bottle in his sleeve, clutched his chest, and spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, he gnashed his teeth and said, "Wang Ba Yun, just you wait. As long as I don't die, I'm not done with you. Don't think that I don't know that your lightning power has almost been used up. Unless you land very low, there's nothing you can do to me. It's never too late for little Joe to take revenge. Don't let me see you again, or I'll definitely kill you." Wu Yun in the sky almost laughed like a pig. Is this little girl a fool? She's simply helping it out. What an idiot. Wu Yun immediately descended lower and lower. When it was about 30 feet away from Yun Chujo suddenly jumped up and threw the fresh blood in the porcelain bottle towards Wu Yun. Wu Yun was shocked and subconsciously rushed to fly higher. Then, it tragically saw one of its cloud wings, flying towards Yun Chujo, and it was the kind that couldn't wait. Wu Yun was instantly dumbfounded. What was going on? That was its cloud wings. Why did it feel that the stinky girl was its mother? Oh God! Was he hallucinating? Why did she have a small dark cloud? Although this small dark cloud's level was very low, how could a human control Wu Yun? One had to know that other than Tian Dao, no one could control Wu Yun. This was too frightening. Wu Yun did not have time to think about it carefully. It was too scary. It would never come here again. No wonder number 250 did not come here previously. He even said that he would bring Xian Yun along. Bah! He had tricked her. He Xinjiu saw that Wu Yun was like a wild horse that had gone off the reins. She did not look back and did not chase after him. After a while, Yun Chujiu heard the sound of thunder. She did not pay too much attention to it. It was probably that silly cloud that had randomly struck her. She rolled her eyes, changed out of her clothes, and threw them into a deep pit. Then, she took a disguise pill and headed in the opposite direction of the imperial city. Because her flying spirit tool was brought from the towering sky continent, she was afraid that it would be too eye-catching. Therefore, she went to the nearest city and bought a new flying spirit tool. After changing her appearance again, she headed towards the wilderness. Little Gigolo, your little cutie is here. Chapter 49-14 Struck by lightning. He Xinjiu was happy, but Yuan Ji was miserable. He waited in the third room for quite a while, but Yun Chujiu did not return. He suddenly felt that something was not right. He hurriedly sent people to investigate. After learning that Yun Chujiu had gone to Mount Meru, he also rushed to Mount Meru. However, seeing that Mount Meru was filled with lightning, he did not dare to get too close. He could only wait at the foot of Mount Meru. Although he had not personally seen Yun Chujiu being struck by lightning, he had heard from Lan Luochen that normal heavenly lightning would not do anything to Yun Chujiu. Moreover, her cultivation method depended on being struck by lightning. Yuan Ji cursed in his heart. This troublemaker's cultivation method was different from others. What a pervert! He could only curse in his heart as he waited. Finally, when the sky gradually brightened, he was surprised to find that Wu Yun was rapidly descending towards the mountain. However, due to the distance and the cover of the trees, he could not see what exactly happened. Just when he was confused, he saw that Wu Yun was rapidly flying towards him. Behind him was He Xinjiu, who was sitting on the little Wu Yun. Yuan Ji had heard about the matter of He Xinjiu having a little Wu Yun, but he had always thought that it was a spirit tool, and that it was a rumor spread by He Xinjiu. However, at this moment, he knew with absolute certainty that it was definitely not a rumor. Because Mount Meru was a no-fly zone. If it wasn't for the little Wu Yun, it would have been impossible to fly. However, his eyes weren't playing tricks on him, right? Why did he feel that Wu Yun in front of him was running for his life? Oh God, could it be that even Wu Yun was afraid of that troublemaker? Just as Yuan Ji was thinking about it, he saw that the little Wu Yun had disappeared without a trace. He didn't know if it had landed. He was extremely curious about Yun Chujiu's little Wu Yun. Hence, he could not wait to run up Mount Meru, wanting to see that little Wu Yun. However, the Wu Yun in the sky was filled with anger and had nowhere to vent it. Seeing that Yuan Ji could not wait to run up the mountain, his heart was filled with hatred. This idiot must be that smelly girl's accomplice. Humph. It could not kill that smelly girl, but it could not kill him. It just so happened that there were still a few heavenly lightning bolts left, so he could use them to strike him. Thus, boom. A heavenly lightning bolt struck toward Yuan Ji. Thus, he was struck by this heavenly lightning bolt. Yuan Ji was simply struck dumb. Who was he? Where was he? What was he doing? Fortunately, his reaction speed was still fast. He quickly activated all the defensive spirit tools on his body, even the defensive immortal tool he used to protect his life. At the same time, he also set up a spirit energy shield. At this time, another heavenly lightning struck down. Yuan Ji tried his best to jump to the side and narrowly avoided this heavenly lightning. Wu Yun in the sky was so angry. This idiot actually dared to dodge. Thus, Wu Yun struck the remaining 3 bolts of heavenly lightning towards Yuan Ji. And it was the kind of heavenly lightning that could bend. The unlucky Yuan Ji tried his best to dodge, but he was still struck by the 3 bolts of heavenly lightning. Although he had a defensive immortal tool and a spirit tool, he was still knocked out. Wu Yun saw that he was knocked out by himself, so he floated away with satisfaction. 2 hours later, Yuan Ji finally opened his eyes with a bald lady on his head. He felt that he had nothing left to live for. What did he do wrong? Why was he struck by lightning? Why? When Yuan Ji thought about how he was so miserable because of Yun Chuzhou, he immediately rushed up the mountain in anger. In the end, there was nothing but a few deep pits and a few strands of rags. Chapter 49:15 The miserable Yuan Ji naturally would not think that He Xingjiu was dead. He was not stupid. If he had not seen her chasing after Wu Yun on the little black cloud, perhaps he would have believed it. Now, if anyone were to tell him that Yun Chuzhou was struck to death by lightning, he would definitely beat him into a pig's head. He thought that Yun Chuzhou had returned to the imperial city, so he changed his clothes. Thinking of his bald head, he could only take out a bamboo hat and put it on his head. However, when he returned to the imperial city, the guards said that they did not see Yun Chuzhou return to the city. Yuan Ji gritted his teeth and sent a message to his subordinates, trying his best to find Yun Chuzhou's whereabouts. He hated He Xingjiu to death. This troublemaker really knew how to cause trouble. Where did she run off to? If she was captured by the Divine Devil Hall, the pavilion master would definitely not let him off. After searching for half a day, there was still no news. Yuan Ji was instantly in a dilemma. It's over, this troublemaker is trying to get him killed. Where did she go? At this moment, a subordinate provided a piece of news. Someone had bought a flying spirit tool in one city next door. Yuan Ji's eyes immediately lit up. After asking for some details, Yuan Ji immediately concluded that the person must be Yun Chuzhou. That was because the woman did not bargain at all, nor did she ask about the performance of the flying spirit tool. She directly paid for the flying spirit tool, and was clearly very anxious. Of course, there was another important reason, and that was that the woman also wore a bamboo hat. Yuan Ji immediately went to the shop to ask about the style of the flying spirit tool. However, it was a pity that Yun Chuzhou bought the most ordinary flying spirit tool, so it was impossible to trace the clues from the flying spirit tool. Yuan Ji had no choice but to send a message to Lan Luochen, but it did not succeed. He was anxious. Where did that troublemaker go? He took out the map and looked at it. He was suddenly shocked. Did that troublemaker go to the wilderness? He had only received the news recently. For nearly a month, the wilderness was not very peaceful. He guessed that the people of the Divine Devil Hall were there to kill Di Baiming. The reason why Yuan Ji was able to receive the news at the same time as the ancestor of the Lan family was because of his connections. However, their pavilion master had been caused a lot of trouble by that troublemaker. If it wasn't for her, their pavilion master would have already soared to the sky. How could he have fallen to such a state? However, how did that troublemaker find out? Could it be that Di Baiming had sent her a message? Yuan Ji curled his lips when he thought of this. That Di Baiming had even said that he would treat that troublemaker well. Since that was the case, why did he tell that troublemaker the address? Wasn't he asking her to send herself to her death? That troublemaker was really blind. Their pavilion master was more than 10,000 times stronger than Di Baiming. Yuan Ji cursed silently as he pondered. The problem now was that the troublemaker had most likely gone to the wilderness. Should he chase after her or not? Honestly speaking, he naturally did not want to chase after her. He wished that Yun Chuzhou and Di Baiming would be killed by the Divine Devil Hall. However, if he did not chase after her, if that troublemaker died or was captured by the Divine Devil Hall, it would be easy for the pavilion master to spare him. He was afraid that their pavilion master would lose half his life because of his sadness. After struggling for a while, Yuan Ji still decided to chase after Yun Chuzhou and forcefully bring her back to the imperial city. Just as Yuan Ji was about to set off, a gust of wind coincidentally blew over, and the bamboo hat on Yuan Ji's head was blown off. Chapter 49:16 Your new hairstyle is quite unique. The coolness coming from the top of his head, as well as the eyes of his subordinates and passers-by, made Yuan Ji feel terrible. He swore that he had never been so humiliated in his life. He wished that he could find a hole to hide in. He looked at the bamboo hat that was gone for good and felt that he could not live this life anymore. He gritted his teeth. No matter what, he had to find that troublemaker as soon as possible. Otherwise, if he really let her go to the wilderness, she would be sending herself to her death. At this moment, He Xinjiu, who could be strangled to death by Yuan Ji, was hurrying on her way. After being struck by lightning, her spiritual power level had broken through to the 3rd level of the extreme spiritual realm. Although she was still very weak, this fellow was still quite satisfied. After all, compared to the thunder desolation in the towering sky continent, Mount Meru only had 1 lightning strike a month, which was simply wonderful. When she passed by the next town, she bought 2 more flying spirit tools, and they were slightly different from the first one she bought. As a result, although Yuan Ji's flying spirit tools were faster than Yun Chuzhou's, they were perfectly missed by Yun Chuzhou. Of course, this was within He Xinjiu's expectations. That blue dregs made it sound nice, saying that Yuan Ji would protect her, but it was actually to keep an eye on her. Yuan Ji chased after her for several days, but he still couldn't find He Xinjiu. He was so angry that he was twitching. Did that troublemaker disappear into thin air? He thought about it. Anyway, that troublemaker's destination was the Wild Hope Wilderness. He would wait at the entrance of the Wild Hope Wilderness, waiting for her. 2 days passed in a row, and Yuan Ji did not manage to stop Yun Chuzhou. His heart could not help but beat faster. Was he wrong? Was the troublemaker's destination not the Wild Hope Wilderness? Buzz 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 buzz. Yuan Ji looked at the flying flower belly poison tail spirit bees with some annoyance. For some reason, many flower belly poison tail spirit bees had flown to the Wild Hope Wilderness from other places in the past 2 days. Could it be that some spirit plants were blooming recently? Fortunately, on the morning of the 3rd day, Yuan Ji blocked He Xinjiu, who had changed her appearance, at the entrance. As Yun Chuzhou applied the modified hair growth pill every day, her hair had recovered to its original state. Yuan Ji, on the other hand, was in a hurry to chase after Yun Chuzhou, so he did not have time to buy any hair growth pills. At this moment, her hair was only about an inch long. Yun Chuzhou, come back with me immediately. Otherwise, I won't stand on ceremony. Yuan Ji said coldly. Uncle, you have the wrong person, He Xinjiu said calmly. No one usually enters the wilderness, so it's useless even if you disguise yourself. If you don't want to make a scene, come back to the Lan family with me immediately, Yuan Ji said angrily. Yun Chuzhou shrugged. She didn't expect to fool Yuan Ji, so she giggled. Yuan Ji was furious. How did this hairstyle come about? Didn't she know? But when Yuan Ji thought about it, she really didn't know. He decided to swallow the fact that he had been struck by lightning to avoid being ridiculed by this darn girl. Don't talk about such nonsense. Let me ask you, are you going to leave with us? Yun Chuzhou spread out her hands. It wasn't easy for me to get here. Naturally, I won't leave with you just like that. How about this? I see that you've brought quite a number of people here. Help me save the pretty boy and he'll return to the Lan family with you. What do you think? Yuan Ji was furious. Yun Chuzhou, are you crazy? We will help you save Di Baiming. I wish that he would be killed by the divine devil Hall. Unless he is crazy, I will help you save him. Chapter 49:17, I am little fairy Jiu. Yun Chuzhou looked at Yuan Ji who was smiling coldly, and her smile became even more brilliant. Yuan Ji, I'm afraid this matter is out of your hands. Look, the people from the Divine Devil Hall have come looking for you. Yun Chujo pointed to the distance with her finger. Yuan Jai's expression changed. He looked up and saw dozens of people rushing over from afar. The masks on their faces were very familiar. They were all from the Divine Devil Hall. Yuan Jai's heart sank. The people of the Divine Devil Hall should have surrounded Di Baiming and the others in the depths of the wilderness. Why did they suddenly come here? Could it be that they had spies nearby? That was not right. He had sent people to investigate. There were no spies from the Divine Devil Hall nearby. What the hell? He glanced at Yun Chujo and said in a low voice, I'm warning you. Don't talk nonsense. Otherwise, I won't be able to save your life. Yun Chujo nodded obediently. Don't worry. I cherish my life very much. I won't talk nonsense. Yuan Ji looked at her suspiciously. He was skeptical, but when he thought about how she had changed her appearance now, the people from the Divine Devil Hall might not be able to recognize her. He might be able to fool them if he tried again. At this time, the dozens of people from the Divine Devil Hall had already arrived in front of them. The leader of the golden masked men sized up the crowd, and finally, his gaze fell on Yun Chujo. Sir, we are from the Lan family. Our young miss happened to pass by this place when she came out for training. Since your sect has something to deal with here, we won't disturb you, Yuan Ji said politely. The golden masked man frowned. The Lan family? The purple masked man who was in charge of them had mentioned that the Lan family was still useful to them. He told them not to get into conflict with the Lan family. However, the news he received earlier. He sized up Yun Chujo again. I wonder, which young miss of the Lan family is this? Just as Yuan Ji was about to casually mention a name, he heard Yun Chujo say with a smile, I am the young miss of the Lan family. I am the fairy of your Divine Devil Hall. Yuan Ji, good, very good. This was what she said about not talking nonsense. At this moment, Yun Chujo took out a bunch of talismans and 2 big sacks of chili and threw them at the people from the Divine Devil Hall. As she threw them, she said, Idiot. This is our Lan family's greeting gift to you. Although Hei Xinjia's talismans were of average quality, there were many of them. No one could withstand so many talismans. Yun Chujo shouted at Yuan Ji, what are you waiting for? Go. If they send a message to their accomplices, we will all die. Yuan Ji was furious. However, he did not have the time to argue with Yun Chujo now. What she said made sense. If they did not kill the dozens of people, they would not be able to escape once reinforcements arrived. It was not that he did not want to explain to these people, but since the troublemaker had done so much, it was useless to explain. Therefore, he gritted his teeth and said to his subordinates, Go. Leave no one alive. Therefore, the 2 sides engaged in a battle. Hei Xinjiu had calculated the direction of the wind when she threw the chili. The wind was directed at the people of the Divine Devil Hall, so Yuan Ji's subordinates were not affected at all. In addition, the people of the Divine Devil Hall had been tortured by Yun Chuji's talismans, so Yuan Ji's people quickly gained the upper hand. Chapter 49:18 The 10,000-year-old pit. The golden masked man roared in exasperation, is the Lan family trying to rebel? Stop it, Hei Xinjiu hid at the back and shouted with her hands on her hips, dream on. How can the Lan family be on the same side as the Divine Devil Hall? I was just playing with you. You should know that I have the blood of the Lan family flowing in my veins. The Lan family will naturally stand on my side. Let me tell you the truth. The Lan family and Di Baiming have the intention of working together from the inside out. Not only will you all die, the rest of you will also die. A bunch of idiots. The golden masked man was both angry and anxious. The Lan family was actually on the same side as Di Baiming. No wonder the Lan family had not handed over Yun Chujo after so long. How hateful. The golden-masked man did not care much and immediately passed the news to his companions. On one hand, he wanted them to come and rescue him. On the other hand, he wanted them to be on guard against the Lan family and have the opportunity to settle the score with the Lan family. Yuan Ji was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He wanted to explain, but he did not know where to begin. Was it that Yun Chuzhou did not have the blood of the Lan family? Or was it that he and Yun Chuzhou were not in cahoots? But how to explain the current situation? For some reason, Yuan Ji had an ominous feeling that he had fallen into a bottomless pit. Could it be that all of this was planned by this troublemaker? At this moment, Yun Chuzhou shouted, "Little ones, put in more effort. Otherwise, when their reinforcements arrive, our lives will be over." Yuan Ji could strangle her to death with hatred. However, he could not deny that she was right. They had to finish the battle as soon as possible. Otherwise, the longer they waited, the more dangerous it would be. Therefore, he and his subordinates stepped up their attacks. Hei Xinjiu did not stay idle either. She secretly launched a sneak attack with the purple needles and specifically aimed at the eyes of the people from the Divine Devil Hall. After about an hour, the battle finally ended. Yuan Ji panted and said, "Yun Chuzhou, follow me and leave this place immediately. Otherwise, I will have to take you away by force." Yun Chuzhou curled her lips. The man with the Jin Mian must have informed the other people from the Divine Devil Hall. If we return to the Lan family now, we will be blocked on the way. It will be a disaster. Give up on that idea. I naturally have a way to avoid the Lan family's block. You leave with me immediately. Yuan Ji shouted sternly, and he planned to make a move and forcefully take Yun Chuzhou away. The smile on Yun Chuzhou's face became even more brilliant. "Yuan Ji, since you're already involved in this mess, it's not like you can leave just because you want to. To tell you the truth, I've mixed poison into the chili. The poison that only I can cure is already highly toxic to all of you. If you don't want to die, then listen to me. Are you trying to control me and force me to get the antidote? Unfortunately, I'm not afraid of torture. Moreover, are you confident that you can really catch me?" Yuan Ji felt his head buzzing. He said angrily, "Yun Chuzhou, you're lying. We're not poisoned." Yun Chuzhou shrugged her shoulders. "If you don't believe me, you can shout a few times and see if you feel dizzy." One of Yuan Ji's men immediately shouted a few times and then said in horror, "Sir, I really feel dizzy. I'm really poisoned." When the others heard this, a few of them pulled their necks and shouted a few times. Then, they also said in horror, "I'm really dizzy. We're really poisoned." Chapter 49:19 was all part of her plan. "Yun Chuzhou, I advise you to hand over the antidote. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless." Although Yuan Ji still had some doubts in his heart, he still believed Yun Chuzhou when he thought of her evil schemes. "Yuan Ji, do you think that threats are useful to me? You only have one choice now, and that is to listen to me. I promise that as long as I save the gigolo, I will immediately follow you back to the Lan family." Yun Chuzhou said with a smile. The reason why she dared to lie to them openly was because she was certain that Yuan Ji and the others did not know that shouting for a long time would cause them to be short of oxygen. Moreover, they had fought with the people from the Divine Devil Hall for a long time and had already used up a lot of energy. It would be strange if they did not faint after shouting. Moreover, even if they did not fall for it, she had other ways to make them fall for it. To her, it was a pleasant surprise that Yuan Ji was able to bring his men to catch up to her. Initially, she had wanted to fight alone, but now that she had these helpers, she naturally didn't want to waste them. If Yuan Ji didn't understand Yun Chuzhou, he might really use force. However, he had interacted with Yun Chuzhou several times and knew that this fellow was full of bad intentions. If he used force, he was afraid that it would be useless. Yuan Ji was so regretful that his intestines turned green. If he had known earlier, after the Lan family competition ended, he would have watched this troublemaker and not allowed her to leave the city. His expression changed a few times before he gritted his teeth and said, "According to the information I know, there are thousands of people from the Divine Devil Hall gathered in the wilderness. Even if we are willing to help you, we will not be able to save Biming. Instead, we will be risking our lives." Yun Chujo narrowed her eyes. "So what if there are thousands of people? As long as you listen to me, you will definitely be able to achieve our goal. Also, Yuan Ji, do you think that the Lan family and the Divine Devil Temple will be able to maintain their relationship after this incident? According to the Divine Devil Temple's character, they will definitely take revenge on the Lan family. So, you are not helping me, but you are helping yourselves. Because if you kill one more person from the Divine Devil Temple, you will have one less enemy." Yuan Ji was so angry that he was speechless. He felt that he was not a stupid person, but why was he being held back by this darn girl? As if everything was within her calculations? "Yuan Ji, don't worry. I value my life the most, so I won't do stupid things that I'm not sure of. You just need to listen to my commands." Yuan Ji thought about it and agreed. This troublemaker valued her life the most, and she had a belly full of bad water, so she should not act rashly. Moreover, if he could contact the Pavilion Master now, according to the Pavilion Master's personality, she would probably be persuaded by this troublemaker. Therefore, he could only grit his teeth and listen to her. Moreover, he could completely listen to her on the surface. When the time came, he might find an opportunity to kill Biming. Thinking of this, he said, "Okay, I'll listen to you. But if you save Biming, you must come back to the Lan family with me." Yuan Ji curled his lips. Surprised? This was obviously a shock. He Xinzhou took out the voice transmission talisman of the Lan family's ancestor and said slyly, "Ancestor, long time no see. How is your elder? I'm playing in the wilderness. By the way, Yuan Ji helped me kill dozens of people from the Divine Devil Hall. And I've told the people from the Divine Devil Hall that the Lan family and my fiancé are playing a trick of cooperating with each other. They are so angry that they are jumping up and down. It's very interesting." Chapter 49-20, The old ancestor who was about to go mad from anger at the same time, a loud bang came from the study room of the old ancestor of the Lan family. The old ancestor smashed the table into pieces with a palm and almost fainted from anger. He also sent people to look for Yun Chujo, but when he found out later that Yuan Ji had brought people to look for Yun Chujo, he did not take it to heart. He thought that Yuan Ji would definitely capture Yun Chujo, but who would have thought that not only did he fail to capture her, he even helped her kill dozens of people from the Divine Devil Hall. Was he a pig's brain? In this way, the peace on the surface could not be maintained, let alone the future deals. He immediately took out his voice transmission talisman and shouted sternly, "Yun Chujo, get your ass back here right now." A moment later, He Xinjia's giggling voice came from the voice transmission talisman, "Old ancestor, I will get my ass back, but I have to kill the rest of the people from the Divine Devil Temple before I go back. I will kill them all. The Divine Devil Temple is in a mess, so they don't have time to find trouble with the Lan family for the time being. Ancestor, I am a member of the Lan family. This is what I should do. You don't have to praise me too much. I will be embarrassed." The ancestor of the Lan family was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Kill the rest of the people from the Divine Devil Temple. As far as he knew, the Divine Devil Temple had sent many people into the Wild Hope Wilderness in recent days. There were at least 3,000 to 4,000 people. Most importantly, these people were elites. She could kill all of them with just the dozens of people that Yuan Ji had brought? Was she dreaming? The old man wearing a mask appeared silently in the study room. "Master, what happened?" The Lan family's old ancestor gritted his teeth and told her everything, then said, "I thought that Yuan Ji was smart, but in the end, he was tricked by that troublemaker. I'm so angry." The old man was obviously shocked. After a long while, he said, "Master, what should we do now?" Yun Chuzhou and Yuan Ji are not even enough to fill the gaps between the teeth of the divine devil hall. Isn't she courting death? The old ancestor of the Lan family said angrily, since she is courting death, then let her go. Anyway, the divine devil hall killed her. I will deal with her and won't find trouble with the Lan family. The old man nodded and then said with some hesitation, Master, what if, Yun Chuzhou really killed those people from the divine devil hall? What should we do next? The old ancestor sneered, unless there is a red rain in the sky. She can do it. However, the old ancestor thought of the things that happened in the Zen sect. That troublemaker could even trick the Buddha's candle. Perhaps she could really do it. Thinking of this, he added, if she can do it, it's not a bad thing. The elites of the Divine Devil Temple are all in the wilderness. If they are all killed by her, the Divine Devil Temple will more or less be in turmoil. They won't have the energy to find trouble with us for a while. He wanted to use her. Then she would give him a taste of his own medicine. After this incident, even if that old fox wanted to send her to the Divine Devil Hall, the Divine Devil Hall would not believe it. Yuan Ji saw the sinister smile on Yun Chuzhou's face and touched his hair that was only an inch long. He felt that these days were like a joke. At this moment, Yun Chuzhou said, half of you, switch your clothes with the corpse. Hurry up. Chapter 49-21, the number one female sword immortal in the world Yuan Ji and the others had already boarded the pirate ship, so they naturally had to listen to He Xinjiu. Thus, half of them changed into the clothes and masks of the Divine Devil Hall. Everyone had specially marked the masks, so that they would not be accidentally injured by their own people in a chaotic battle. Yun Chuzhou, what are you trying to do? Yuan Ji asked, confused. The truth is false, and the truth is the truth. In 15 minutes, reinforcements from the Divine Devil Hall will come. Let's give them a good fight, Yun Chuzhou said with a smile. Yuan Ji looked at her with a dumbfounded look. How did you know that someone from the Divine Devil Hall would come in 15 minutes? I know how to predict. This small matter is not difficult for me. Don't talk nonsense. Let's do it like this later. Do you hear me? Yuan Ji looked at the sinister smile on Yun Chuzhou's face and thought to himself, this troublemaker is really despicable. When the reinforcements from the Divine Devil Hall arrived, they saw that both sides had casualties and were engaged in a chaotic battle. The leader of the golden-masked men shouted at Yun Chuzhou, you are courting death. Although Yun Chuzhou had disguised herself, there was only one woman present. That person naturally recognized He Xinjiu. Yun Chuzhou waved her hand. Immediately, the people of the Lan family jumped to the side and stood behind her. The people of the Temple of Gods and Demons, on the other hand, stood behind the people of the Temple of Gods and Demons on their own accord. The golden-masked man had never dreamed that those people were the people of the Lan family in disguise. Therefore, he only glanced at them briefly and did not take them to heart. He glared at Yun Chuzhou viciously. Yun Chuzhou, how dare you? You actually dare to come here and behave atrociously. But this is also good, so that we don't have to go through so much trouble to find you. Do you want to surrender, or do you want to do it the hard way? Yun Chuzhou sighed. It seems that I have thought too simply. I did not expect that your Divine Devil Hall has so many people here. However, it is also impossible to make me surrender, unless you can defeat me. The golden-masked man laughed out loud. Yun Chuzhou, aren't you afraid that the wind will blow your tongue? You're only at the 3rd level of the extreme spirit realm, but I'm at the 9th level of the extreme spirit realm. Are you sure you want to fight me? Of course I'm sure, unless you're a coward and don't dare to fight me one-on-one. Yun Chuzhou said provocatively. The golden-masked man was instantly angered from embarrassment. If it wasn't for the higher-ups wanting to capture him alive to threaten debeiming, he wouldn't have bothered to waste his breath on her. Since she wanted to die, then he would grant her wish. If he could control this bitch, then the others wouldn't have anything to fear. Thinking of this, the golden-masked man sneered, all right, then let's fight one-on-one. Let's do it. Hearing this, Yun Chujo summoned Little Bitch number 1 and stabbed at the golden masked man's heart. The golden masked man pursed his lips. This Yun Chujo actually used a sword instead of a spiritual beast. Is she crazy? The golden masked man did not dodge but released his spiritual beast. A huge spiritual wolf pounced at Yun Chujo with bared fangs and brandished claws. Yun Chujo hurriedly withdrew her sword to dodge and shouted, "Io, you're really powerful. You actually released a spiritual dog." The golden masked man, are you fucking blind? Is that a dog? It's a wolf, okay. Jin Mian kept increasing his attacks and forced Hei Shinjo to retreat. Hei Shinjo said arrogantly, "Do you think I'm afraid of you just because of that? I'll show you what the number 1 female sword immortal in the world is." Although Yuan Ji was very nervous, his mouth twitched when he heard the shameless words of this guy. This troublemaker was really thick-skinned. Chapter 49-22, Kill the Golden Masked Man and the people from the Divine Devil Hall were also stunned when they heard Yun Chujo's shameless words. The number 1 female sword immortal in the world. Was she still shameless? At this moment, Yun Chujo summoned Little Slut number 2 to number 9. 8 flying swords suddenly stabbed at the golden masked man's vital points. The people from the Divine Devil Hall cried out in surprise. This Yun Chujo could actually control 8 flying swords at the same time. This spiritual sense was really powerful. Although the golden masked man was also a little surprised, he did not take it too seriously. Although this flying sword was rare, it was definitely not as powerful as a spiritual beast. The two sides once again engaged in a fight. The people of the Divine Devil Hall were all attracted by the fight between Yun Chujo and the golden masked man. The people who blended into the Divine Devil Hall saw Yuan Ji's hand gesture and immediately raised their spiritual shields. Then, they threw all the chili noodles at the people of the Divine Devil Hall. At the same time, they attacked the people of the Divine Devil Temple nearby. The people of the Divine Devil Temple did not expect the backyard to be on fire. Their attention was all on Yun Chujo and the golden masked man. They were almost defenseless. Therefore, in just a short moment, the Lan family had killed dozens of people. It was as easy as chopping vegetables. In addition, their costumes were exactly the same as the people of the Divine Devil Temple. For a time, the people of the Divine Devil Temple could not tell who was the enemy and who was the comrade. Many of them were accidentally injured by their own people. Yuan Ji had his subordinates join in the battle as well. He came over to help Yun Chujo. At this moment, Yun Chujo took advantage of the golden masked man's distraction to sneak attack him with a small flame. The golden masked man's right arm was burned into charcoal by the small flame. Before he could say anything, Yuan Ji, who was behind him, killed him with a palm strike. Yun Chujo and Yuan Ji looked at each other. In this battle, it was either one of them or the other. Although they had their own plans, they were the most reliable comrades at this moment. As the golden masked man was killed and they were caught off guard, more than 100 people from the Divine Devil Hall were killed by Yun Chujo and the others. Yuan Ji looked at the dead bodies on the ground and felt a little complicated. Did they really win with fewer people and kill all these people? Moreover, not a single person on his side died. His subordinates looked at each other. This battle was the easiest one for them, right? Especially at the beginning, those people from the Divine Devil Hall were like fools, allowing them to plot against them. It was so cool. Yuan Ji, you guys change into the clothes of the Divine Devil Hall too, so that it won't be too eye-catching. As Yun Chujo said that, she put on a set of clothes from the Divine Devil Hall and put on a mask. Yuan Ji asked in confusion, what use can these corpses be? Why not destroy them? Yun Chujo glanced at him and said, do you have the final say or do I have the final say? If you continue to dawdle, I will make you bald forever. Yun Chujo said coldly. Yuan Ji, you are ruthless. Yuan Ji reluctantly put the corpses into his storage ring and asked, where are we going next? Well, find a safe place to rest first, then, well, go and kill people. Yun Chujo said coldly. Yuan Ji cursed in his heart. Are you sure you're going to kill people? And not be killed by others? However, he didn't dare to say it out loud. He followed Yun Chujo with a cold face. Finally, they found a place with low shrubs. Yun Chujo motioned for everyone to sit down and rest. However, a moment later, she said, "It's not safe here. Let's go somewhere else." Everyone had no choice but to follow her to another place. However, not long after, they were asked to follow her to another place. Chapter 49:23 Used me as bait. Yuan Ji couldn't take it anymore. What on earth are you trying to do? Why are you constantly changing locations? Yun Chujo looked at him as if she was looking at an idiot. Of course, I'm avoiding the pursuers. Otherwise, do you think I have nothing better to do? Avoiding the pursuers? Why don't I see any pursuers? Wait until you see them. The daylily will be gone. If you don't believe me, you can go to the place where we stayed and take a look secretly. Yun Chujo said with a pout. Yuan Ji was also infuriated by He Xinjiu. He immediately sneaked back and saw a group of people from the Divine Devil Hall from a distance. He was so scared that he hurriedly ran back and looked at Yun Chujo in disbelief. How? How did you figure it out in advance? Yun Chujo looked like a fraud and said, "The secrets of heaven cannot be revealed. A mortal like you should not ask." Yuan Ji, following that, everyone followed Yun Chujo and kept changing locations, but they were never found by the people of the Divine Devil Hall. Whether it was Yuan Ji or his subordinates, they were completely impressed by Yun Chuji's ability. How on earth did she do it? She was too powerful. Yun Chujo looked at their eyes and was secretly happy. These stupid fools. She was relying on the flower belly poison tail spiritual bees. The reason why she arrived 2 days later than Yuan Ji was to catch these little things in the nearby mountains. With the help of these little things, she knew the whereabouts of the people from the Divine Devil Hall like the back of her hand. As for why those people at the beginning suddenly ran to the outer area, it was also because she had written many notes to have the flower-bellied poison-tail spirit bees thrown into the range of activities of those people from the Divine Devil Temple. According to the degree of hatred that those people from the Divine Devil Temple had for her, even if they would doubt the reliability of the information, they would still come out with the intention of killing 1,000 people by mistake rather than letting one go. That was why Yuan Ji had no choice but to cooperate with her. However, these flower-bellied poison-tail spirit bees could only move around in the outer area of the wilderness. There was no way for them to go in. When the time came, she would have to think of other ways. Thinking of the records she had seen in the wilderness, she could not help but smile. While Yun Chujo was thinking, Yuan Ji said, "This is only the outer area, so the Divine Devil Hall only sent a few hundred people to be on guard. Even so, we are not their match, not to mention that there are thousands of people inside. I advise you to follow me back to the Lan family." Yuan Ji, there is no turning back, so don't say anything that will hurt the morale. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. Yun Chujo stared at Yuan Ji and said with a stern voice. Yuan Ji was shocked by the murderous aura on Yun Chujo. He wanted to say something, but he swallowed it. Yun Chujo slowly said, "Use bait to set up an ambush." Use bait to set up an ambush? Then who should be the bait? Yuan Ji asked. Who else? Yun Chujo pointed at her nose. Yuan Ji was stunned and blurted out, "Aren't you the one who cherishes your life the most? Why did you take the risk to be the bait?" Yun Chujo laughed lightly, "Because I'm the most suitable to be the bait, and it's the only way to minimize the casualties. Although we weren't happy in the past, from the moment we worked together, we were comrades. Although I, Yun Chujo, am not talented, I still have the courage and responsibility." Chapter 49:24, Leading the Charge. Yuan Ji did not expect Yun Chujo to say such a thing. How could this troublemaker be so responsible? Yuan Ji's subordinates were also stunned. They naturally held a grudge against Yun Chuzhou. After all, He Xinjiu had poisoned them. It would be a miracle if they did not hate her. However, after hearing what He Xinjiu had said just now, they more or less looked at her in a different light. They were all bloodthirsty people who valued loyalty the most. Therefore, they felt that Yun Chujia's ability to use her body as bait had some merits. Yuan Ji looked at Yun Chuzhou suspiciously. Seeing that she did not seem to be in a bad mood, he said, "Then tell us what we should do in detail." Yun Chuzhou immediately told him her plan. Then, she curled her lips. "There are about 100 people in the nearest place. Our plan is enough to kill them all. However, we have to finish the battle as soon as possible to prevent the other people from the Divine Devil Hall from coming to support us. Do you understand?" Yuan Ji could not be bothered to ask how Yun Chuzhou knew about the situation. He nodded. "Since you are the bait, we will not be vague." Yun Chuzhou nodded. She was afraid of death, but it did not mean that she did not have the courage and responsibility. Moreover, the best way to boost the morale was to lead the troops. As night fell, Yuan Ji's heart was also worried. He did not know if the plan to stir up trouble would work, so he was not sure. Yun Chuzhou looked at the time and then waved her hand. Everyone followed her to the temporary base of the Divine Devil Hall. When they were about 10 miles away from the temporary base of the Divine Devil Hall, Yun Chuzhou said to Yuan Ji, "There are a little more shrubs here. It's suitable for hiding. You guys can ambush them here. I'll go and lure them over." Yuan Ji nodded and hesitated for a moment. In the end, he said, "Be careful." Yun Chuzhou smiled brightly. "Don't worry. I don't have any other abilities. It's a piece of cake to anger them. See you later." Yuan Ji looked at Yun Chujia's departing figure and shook his head. Then, he arranged for the others to set up an ambush. When Yun Chuzhou walked about 5 miles, she was discovered by the people in charge of guarding the Divine Devil Hall. Those people were stunned when they saw Yun Chuzhou. Yun Chuzhou wore a mask on her face and the clothes of the Divine Devil Hall. Although women were rare among the people of the Divine Devil Hall, it was not unheard of. Therefore, they did not attack immediately. Instead, they shouted, "Which lord are you under? Why are you here in the middle of the night?" Yun Chuzhou snorted coldly and gave off a murderous aura. "Who am I? Do you think you can ask me? Call your leader here. Otherwise, if you delay this important matter, I will take your dog lives." The few people were immediately intimidated by He Xinjia's aura. Their hearts were beating fast, but they did not dare to say anything. They immediately sent someone to deliver a letter to their leader. When the golden-masked man saw Yun Chuzhou, he sized her up suspiciously. "Which hall are you from? Why are you here so late at night?" The reason why the golden-masked man did not suspect that the person in front of him was Yun Chuzhou was mainly because he did not expect Yun Chuzhou to put herself in danger in the middle of the night. Yun Chuzhou did not know the bullshit entrance of the Divine Devil Hall. She had an idea and took out an identity jade token that she had seized and threw it to the golden-masked man. Then she said, "We found Yun Chujia's hiding place and wanted to send you a message, but we were afraid that you would not be able to find the specific location, so our Lord sent me to lead the way for you." Chapter 49:25 was too satisfying. The golden-masked man took the jade token from Yun Chujia's hand and looked at it. He still had some doubts, but on second thought, the Lan family only had a few dozen people. Even if there was a conspiracy, they were not afraid. If they could capture Yun Chuzhou alive, it would be a great merit. Thinking of this, he said, "Okay, then lead the way. If you dare to play any tricks, HMPH." Yun Chuzhou said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, "Please return my lord's jade token to me first." The golden-masked man threw the jade token in his hand to Yun Chuzhou. His suspicion towards Yun Chuzhou was somewhat dispelled. After all, if there was anything wrong with her identity, she would not still think about returning the jade token. Even so, the golden-masked man still gave his subordinates a look. Immediately, 7 or 8 people surrounded Yun Chuzhou in the middle, in case she ran away. Yun Chuzhou did not show any signs of panic. She was secretly happy in her heart. Initially, she thought that it would take some effort, but she did not expect these idiots to be so gullible. This time, it was much simpler. When they were about to reach the ambush circle, in order to prevent the people from the Divine Devil Hall from noticing the ambush ahead, Yun Chuzhou began to divert their attention and said, "What do you guys think of that, Yun Chuzhou?" The people who were watching her could not help but show contempt in their eyes. They said one after another, "What's so great about that smelly girl? She's just a rumor. We will capture her alive in a while." That's right. We are not like those idiots from the other continents. It's a simple matter to deal with her. As long as we capture her, we can use her to blackmail Di Biming. Speaking of Di Biming, he is really something. We have sent 3,000 to 4,000 people this time, and we have been besieging the wilderness for more than a month, but we still haven't caught him. Yun Chuzhou was proud in her heart. That was her gigolo, wanting to catch him. Dream on. Yuan Ji heard the laughter coming from afar, and then he saw He Xingzhou talking and laughing with those people. He was completely dumbfounded. What was going on? Were those people from the Divine Devil Hall blind? Could it be that they didn't recognize the troublemaker as Yun Chuzhou? Seeing that they were about to enter the ambush, Yun Chuzhou pointed to the sky and exclaimed, "Oh my God, look, what is that?" Everyone subconsciously looked up. Yun Chuzhou took the opportunity to leap forward and threw 2 big sacks of chili noodles to them. The people from the Divine Devil Hall were caught off guard. Some of them were choking and crying. The golden-masked man finally realized what was going on and shouted, "She is Yun Chuzhou. She is that bitch Yun Chuzhou. Chase after her." The reason why he was so sure was naturally because of the chili noodles. They did not go far before a lot of rapeseed oil was thrown at them from the surrounding bushes. Following that, flames soared into the sky and countless chili peppers were thrown. The people of the Divine Devil Hall were in a panic. In addition to the fact that the ground was very slippery after being splashed with rapeseed oil, many of them were tripped by their companions and fell to the ground. What made things worse was that countless talismans were thrown at them. For a moment, the screams of the people of the Divine Devil Temple could be heard. In less than an hour, all the people of the Divine Devil Temple were killed. Yuan Ji's side did not even have a scratch, let alone a dead person. Everyone looked at each other. How could war be played like this? It was too fucking satisfying. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.